Welcome to Rosie's Short Stories. Sometimes I sit back and watch people, and it really makes me think about how quick we are to judge what we don't understand. So quick to call something wrong just because it looks different from what we know. But life is bigger than one way of thinking, one way of living, one way of being. And culture is always moving, always changing, always becoming. That doesn't automatically make it bad. That makes it life. And I think that's where a lot of people get it mixed up. Just because you have an opinion does not mean you have the answer. Just because you feel strongly about something does not make you right. And just because somebody else moves through life differently than you do, that does not give you the right to judge them like you know their whole story. Now, I'm not saying everything out here is right. I'm not saying every change is good. I'm not saying every new thing should be accepted without thought. That's not what I mean. What I mean is, everything different is not wrong. Everything unfamiliar is not bad. Everything you don't understand is not something you need to tear down. Sometimes it's just life. Sometimes it's just people growing. Sometimes it's just culture shifting in ways that make room for people who were not always seen, heard, or understood before. And for a lot of people, that makes them uncomfortable. Because when the world starts changing, when people start speaking differently, living differently, expressing themselves differently, a lot of folks don't know how to sit with that. And instead of trying to understand, they rush to judge. Instead of listening, they criticize. Instead of asking questions, they force their opinions onto everybody else, like their point of view is the only one that matters. But it's not. Nobody gets to be the ruler over somebody else's life. Nobody gets to decide that. Because they don't understand a person, that person is wrong. Nobody gets to decide that because someone lives differently, speaks differently, heals differently, or sees the world differently, that they are somehow less worthy of respect. That is not wisdom. That is control. And too often, people hide control behind their opinions. If we're being honest, most of us know what it feels like to be judged before we were understood. We know what it feels like to have people make assumptions about us. We know what it feels like to be looked at, talked about, dismissed, or reduced to one part of who we are without anybody taking time to really see us. So why are we so quick to do that to each other? Why are we so quick to break people down just because their life looks different from ours? Why are we so quick to speak on things we have never lived through? Why are we so quick to call something broken just because it was built in a way we don't recognize? Culture has always changed. People have always changed. The world has always changed. That is the way of life. Not all of it is right. Not all of it is wrong. But it is real. And if we're ever going to build anything better with each other, then we have to learn how to lead with more understanding and less judgment. We have to learn how to stop treating our opinions like they are the final word on somebody else's existence. We have to learn how to make space for the fact that not everybody is going to live, think, or grow in the same way. And that's okay. Agreement is not always the goal. Respect should be, understanding should be, compassion should be, taking the time to see people as human beings instead of problems to be corrected. That should be. Because some people are carrying things you know nothing about. Some people are living through pain you cannot see. Some people are trying to find peace in a world that has judged them long before they ever had the chance to explain themselves. They do not need more judgment piled on top of that. They need room to breathe, room to grow, room to be human. And especially in our own communities, we have to be more mindful about how we speak to each other. We have to be more careful not to become so set in our opinions that we start tearing down the very people we should be trying to understand. You do not have to agree with everything, but you do have to respect people. You do have to recognize that your opinion is not the law. And you do have to understand that just because something is not your way, that does not make it the wrong way. Life is layered. People are layered. Culture is layered. And maybe if more of us could accept that, we could stop trying so hard to judge every difference we see and start learning how to understand it instead. So before you speak on somebody else's life, before you throw your opinion around like it's truth, before you shame somebody for being different, ask yourself this: am I trying to understand, or am I just trying to control what makes me uncomfortable? Because there is a difference. And maybe that difference is where growth begins. Maybe that difference is where healing begins. Maybe that difference is where we finally learn how to let people be human without anyone feeling as if they're being punished for it. That doesn't make the world perfect, but it could make us better and help us to unite in this lost world together, helping each other feel like we have each other and we don't have to do it alone in this world we share. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to follow, like, and share.